There's no doubt about it. Welcoming a dog into your family can be one of the most joyous days of your life. You spend time preparing, making plans, and you think you have a pretty good idea of what to expect. But sometimes life throws us a curveball, and our happily ever after gets off to a bit of a rocky start. Getting a new dog sounds simple enough. You feed them, walk them, show them where to go to the bathroom, and we expect that everything else will fall into place. But oftentimes, new dogs exhibit puzzling behaviors, creating problems that some owners struggle to overcome. Failing to understand how the dog perceives the world around them can lead us to make grave errors, sending the wrong signals to the dog and mismanaging critical situations. This can lead to further dysfunction and turn relatively small problems into big ones. Many people expect their new dog to seamlessly integrate into their family, adapting quickly to their lifestyle and conforming to all the rules without a fuss. After all, dogs are so adaptable and so dependent on us that for the most part they tend to do just that. In some cases, however, meeting all of our expectations can be a challenge for the dog, requiring a knowledgeable approach and proper guidance. Being pulled from a familiar environment and abruptly being placed in a completely foreign one is extremely stressful. The dog has no idea where they are, whether this place is safe, or what to expect next. While some dogs handle this process better than others, initially all dogs will exhibit at least some insecurity and anxiety. To get comfortable, dogs need time to thoroughly explore the new place, acclimate to all the residents, and become familiar with the routines. The length of the adjustment period will vary with each dog, but you can expect this process to take multiple weeks, and in some cases even months. During this time, the dog might seem fearful or anxious, or overly affectionate, clinging to you for comfort. You might see the dog pacing a lot, or finding tight spaces to hide in. The dog might have accidents in the house and exhibit an inconsistent or diminished appetite. The dog might be reluctant to go certain places, engage in activities, or interact with people and other pets. They can overreact to seemingly trivial things, and some displays of aggression are not uncommon during this time. In order to make the dog as comfortable as possible and to achieve the best outcome, we must allow them to decompress in a productive way. And there's a number of things that we can do to help. It might be tempting to show your new pet how much you love them by hugging, cuddling, and playing with them, but it's very important to be respectful of their personal space. Building trust doesn't happen overnight, and it's very easy to frighten a dog by being too overbearing and intrusive. This is especially true for small kids. You should always monitor your children closely around the dog, and be prepared to intervene if they're not giving the dog sufficient space. Allow the dog to explore the home on their own terms, and try to let them initiate the interactions as much as possible. Instead of going to the dog to pet them, call them to you and have some treats ready to reward them. This will help ensure that you're not overstepping any boundaries, and it will make the experience positive and pleasant for the dog. The same is true for visitors. While your newest addition to the family is certainly worthy of celebrating, throwing a big party in the first week isn't the optimal thing to do. It takes time for the dog to begin feeling comfortable in the home, and they can easily get overwhelmed by excessive noise, activity, and attention. Let the dog settle in and figure things out before you start introducing them to all your friends. When a dog is uncertain or insecure, the best thing to do is to keep things calm. Getting a dog too excited can cause them to think less and react more intensely, which can lead to problems in an unstable situation. People tend to assume that playing with a dog will immediately make them happy, but that's not always the case. If a dog is nervous around you, sudden movements and intrusive gestures can easily overwhelm and frighten the dog. This can lead to unwanted behaviors and negative associations that will have to be repaired later on. Even if the dog is perfectly comfortable around you, being overstimulated will increase the likelihood of erratic or obnoxious behaviors and make them less likely to respond to cues and commands. Encouraging calm and polite behaviors will help the dog settle in faster and help with training and obedience in the future. Establishing a comfortable and predictable environment for the dog will help reduce stress and can speed up the adjustment process. Letting the dog into your home and letting them figure things out on their own isn't always a good strategy. Your environment may be completely unfamiliar to the dog, and giving them too much freedom without adequate guidance might lead to issues. It's always good to start off by keeping their world relatively small, and gradually allowing more access as they get more comfortable. This will make the whole process more manageable for the dog, and will allow you to spot and correct any quirky behaviors before they get out of hand. Crates can be a great tool to help with decompression when used properly. They can speed up house training by reducing opportunities for accidents and destructive chewing. They can provide a safe and comfortable place for the dog to rest and eat in peace while making sure they stay out of trouble during the times they can't be supervised. You should always take the time to properly habituate the dog to the crate and it should never be used as punishment for unwanted behaviors. The dog should always have a quiet spot in the house that they can retreat to if they want to be left alone. If you choose to use the crate for that, make sure that it's set up in a separate area of the home, away from all the commotion. The dog should see that as a safe place, and should have access to it at all times. The fastest way to help a dog settle into your home is by establishing a clear and predictable routine. A lot of fear and insecurity stems from uncertainty. A consistent and reliable schedule will ensure that the dog understands what will happen next, alleviating any anxiety caused by uncertainty. This is also a critical component in training and eliminating any unwanted behaviors. Dogs are creatures of habit, and behavior patterns are established quickly. Boundaries and expectations should be established on day one to prevent unwanted habits from forming. For example, if you don't want the dog to go on the furniture, you should prevent them from doing so from the start. Attempting to retract these privileges after you've allowed them risks sending mixed signals and confusing the dog. Establish a consistent routine for mealtime, walks, and all other daily activities. We'll be doing a deep dive on this topic in future videos, but here are a few things to keep in mind when introducing a new dog to your resident pets. Much like people, most dogs can be selective when making new friends, and it takes time for them to bond and build trust. During this fragile process, it can be imperative that we facilitate these interactions correctly. Failing to do so can put the relationship on the wrong trajectory, and can sometimes lead to catastrophic results. The key to establishing a harmonious relationship between dogs is to minimize the competitive element as much as possible. Since we control all aspects of their lives, including any coveted resources, our behavior plays a huge role in determining the outcome. Dogs can naturally compete with one another for food, attention, toys, sleeping spaces, and anything else they might deem valuable. It's our job to make the dogs feel secure by eliminating any notion of scarcity and conveying the benefits of cooperation while discouraging any confrontational impulses. One exception to that rule can be when the dogs are playing with one another. While technically competitive, respectful and mutual play can be a positive experience for the dogs and can help reinforce their bond. Even play, however, should be closely monitored to ensure that it remains measured and productive. Without balanced communication, play often escalates and becomes contentious and can actually damage the relationship. The initial introduction between the new dog and your resident dog should ideally be conducted on neutral grounds. This will help ensure a level playing field by eliminating any territorial component and providing novel stimuli to distract the dogs in the event of a tense exchange. If using leashes, don't immediately allow the dogs to come nose to nose. Restricted movement and close proximity to the owner can make the dog more likely to display aggression during these interactions. Start with a parallel walk instead, and gradually close the distance if the dogs seem receptive. Introducing dogs to other species of animals such as cats can pose additional challenges, and we'll be covering that in future videos. Thanks for making it to the end. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share the video with your friends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.